In Brazil, when they poo, when they use tissue to wipe their bum, they don't throw the tissue inside the toilet. They throw it in the bin.
Oh, really?
This is your boy, MrCV. I'm back and I'm back again. Got a special topic for you, and obviously I'm with my guy, and I think he's the one that can handle this topic. The topic is one that someone gave to me. Are your parents responsible for how you turn out to be as an adult? So many people, there's a lot of influences from their parents. Does your parents have a massive influence on how you turn out to be as an adult, or obviously it's just down to you as an individual to decide how you turn out?
You know, they say the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree. A lot of the behaviors you exhibit
is from the parents.
As a man, a lot of your behaviors you exhibit is likely from your dad.
Mad.
You won't even know. I'll tell you how crazy it is, yeah? And I'll get personal, I don't mind. My dad studied foundation engineering at university and he dropped out. I studied foundation engineering at university.
You dropped out?
And I dropped out.
Carbon copy, bro.
My dad went back to university to try again, and he said, you know what, done with this.
Dropped out again.
Left it.
You two followed the same.
I went to another university to try again, then I said, done with this.
Yeah, what is that?
Start again. You won't know that the things you're doing are a lot to do with the way your parents behave. Because it's only by chance that I know that my dad did those things. I wasn't raised by my dad, so I had to hear these stories from everyone else. A lot of his behaviors people say I have. So what we're asking here, are your parents responsible? Are you talking about their parenting style?
It's quite hard, because obviously the person that gave me the topic, they didn't really give me the context of it. But I think we can look at it from both sides, as in the styling of the parenting.
Yeah.
If it's the styling of the parenting, there is a big responsibility there. But I'm going to use myself as an example.
Let's do it, bro.
I'm very different. I'm very, very different from a normal African person, in the sense that I think differently and I behave differently. Even though my parents do have a big influence on me, I still decide and choose what I want to do, how I want to do my things.
Which you will do.
But some people don't have that choice. Some people really don't have that choice. Some people just, whatever my parents told me to do, that's what I'm doing. It's not that I've always had the choice, but I choose. I'm a bit of a rebel.
So wait, we're talking about professions in life, or are we talking about academia?
We can even go down to professions. Because if your parents are a doctor, most likely they want you to follow that same pathway. Some,
or maybe the same level of professional
achievement.
Yeah.
Because obviously they don't want to drop down. Because obviously if you drop down, it kind of makes them look bad, like as if they're not good parents.
That's the way they see it. Do you know what? There is so multifaceted, because the way you're raised in your home, it doesn't just have implications for your professional life. It has implications for your relationships. That's with friends, that's with family, that's with your wife or husband, that's colleagues at work. The way you interact with everybody really and truly is going to determine your life, you know. And
that's a bit too much.
Oh no, it's true. That's
heavy, man.
Because
that is heavy, man.
So many people now in their late 20s, early 30s, mid 30s, they're starting to talk about mental health. And a lot of people are going to counseling, they're seeing therapists now. And the biggest question is, what is your relationship like with your mum and dad? What was it like in your childhood?
How does that relate to the mental health part? How?
What is crazy is this. A lot of the relational problems you may have as an adult can almost always be traced back to the relationships you formed with your parents when you were a child. People that tend to have consistently bad relationships in their teens, 20s, 30s and beyond, marriage, etc. When they go into therapy, it can usually be traced back to some unresolved traumas, some kind of troubles that took place when they were kids. Not everybody's would have had something crazy happen to them, God forbid, you know, unfortunately it's a reality, it happens, but most people, it just would have been maybe an absent father. That's probably the most common ill. Why people they have damaged relationships and they can't seem to get on. They have mental health issues, anxiety, depression prone, all of this stuff. Lack of fathers in the house.
When it comes to this question in particular, I'm looking at it from how you've turned out as an adult. Let's say, for example, how you've seen your parents raise you, you might try to replicate that same way.
But when you say turned out, because some people have terrible personal lives, but in their professional life, they're high flyers, they're amazing. So what do you mean by turned out?
We're just talking about in general, not just professional life, as in how they are as a person. I wanted to relate it back to, if your parents treated you this way, you might also pass the same judgment to your children. If you're a child, for example, I normally used to get beatings.
Yeah.
When you have kids as well, you might also follow the same kind of line of...
But would it be wrong if you did?
Whether it's wrong or right, that's your personal choice to make. You know what I mean? I'm not going to decide that for you. But because that system worked for them, you might also adapt that kind of system. But obviously now, I think it's down to the individual to be able to open their minds and look for other alternatives. Which it comes to my next point, which is, yes, your parents do have an influence on you, on how you turn out as an adult. But I also think it's up to the individual as well to be able to re-educate themselves on certain aspects, to be able to choose, these are parts of the ideology of my parents, I'm going to choose the one that is beneficial to me, and also I'm going to choose the ones that are not beneficial to me, I'm going to do it my own way.
So I think we've touched on two things there. I came in with the mental health aspect, which for most people is subconscious. They don't know that they behave the way they do because of what they've been through. They don't know. I didn't know. We've also touched on the conscious aspect where your parents' ideologies, their methods of doing things, their beliefs that they've given to you, you now have a choice to, do I carry that on? Do I leave that behind? So there's a subconscious and conscious aspect. In terms of the conscious aspect, I mean, there's a generic kind of flow that you'll get from your parents, which is, for many people, do well in school, keep out of trouble. How your parents, impact the way you turn now. I don't think it would be the conscious side. Most parents are gonna say generally positive things and guide you towards positive things, I don't know anyone's parents that's gonna tell them, come and join this gang.
Oh no!
Come and sell these drugs. You know what I mean? So the conscious side, maybe not. Ideologies?
Definitely ideologies, because obviously, what you've been taught is what you're going to transmit.
When you say what you've been taught, which conscious things?
In terms of the culture you grew up in, the way you do certain things.
Right.
So obviously that could be culturally, that could also be religiously. In the sense that obviously if you've grown up in a religious household, some of those things that have been taught there, that will also impact you as an adult, and how you turn as an adult. Because if you don't do certain things, you might have your reasons behind it. One of your reasons could be due to your culture or your religion.
Are we going to blanket positive impact and negative impact?
When you say negative impact, isn't...
This is what I'm saying. I'm trying to gauge, because check this out like this, Many people around the world, many young women around the world, they're raised to be pretty much housewives and nothing more. But largely in Western cultures, women are expected to go through school, finish at high school level, age 18, and then go into higher education and university, finish that, go and become professionals afterwards. Just aim for the stars, basically. Whereas in other cultures, less liberal, less progressive, it would be frowned upon for a woman to do so. To pursue academia and professional life and kind of put motherhood and being a wife on the back burner, it wouldn't be accepted. You can't really call it positive and negative there. It would be very subjective. I mean, I have my view. Personally, I think I was born on the wrong side of the planet because I'm really not with the whole liberal stuff. I'm not into the whole progressive stuff, I'll be very honest with you.
You're an adult now. Has your parents impacted you to think that way or behave that way?
Here's the thing. It's weird because my parents, I'm from a Ghanaian background. Both my parents are Ghanaian. I'd say they're first generation immigrants. They moved to London from Ghana and they were born in the 60s. I'll say it in terms of the family paradigm, how families are made up. They're from a place where generally the women are the homemakers, the men go out and get it. You know, that's the time they're from. I've been born here, my mum's come here, she's been here since late 80s, early 90s. She really believes that a woman should be working. My dad is a bit, you know, he's a bit more traditional. He's saying, stay home, you know, look after kids. The Western world is a place where women are strikingly different to women in more traditional cultures. Even though my parents are even split on what traditional values to carry, I kind of lean more towards traditional. Even though I was born in the West. I'm born in the West. I'm born in London. I'm born and raised here.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Or maybe they gave birth to you in Ghana. They told you that, oh yeah, you was born in the West.
I'm quite different to a lot of the guys that I see around in terms of my values and what I think is quote unquote right. Someone will disagree with me, but I won't call that a positive or a negative. I'll call it a difference.
I don't think it's positive or negative in the sense that depending on if he's right to you, then you see it as a positive. But to the others that is not right to, they will see it as a negative. That's exactly why I gave you that Brazil scenario. But because even, like I said, it's whatever spectrum of where you look at it, you could justify that this is right for me.
Let's take this deeper. I like to focus on family and relational aspect of things because most people can relate to that. So within the black community, there's a high rate of single motherhood. I say single parenthood on the mother's side. So there's a high prevalence of single women raising children. When we're talking about culture and how your parents' upbringing has affected you and how it's made you turn out, in this situation we're taking into account the fact that these kids weren't even raised by men. And today we have what somebody may call a masculinity crisis. These people are being raised without fathers and it's having a very intense effect on their lives. You can look up the statistics now. More likely to go to prison, more likely to drop out of university, more likely to have teenage pregnancies, more likely to use drugs, all kinds of societal ills come from fatherlessness. And it seems to be very prevalent in the black community. So if I say how your parents raised you, most parents within the black community would still say, go to school, do well, but the subconscious effect, not the conscious, the subconscious effect of not being raised with a father, that's the damaging one. That's what's causing the damage because the messages do well in life. The subconscious effect is more destructive. We're not necessarily talking about culture there, we're talking about circumstance. That seems to be prevalent in culture.
Even if you wasn't raised by a father, you was raised by a single mother.
Yeah.
I think this is where it might come down to the individual in the sense that you can still be a high achieving person.
Of course.
And you can still not go to gang, have parents. I don't want to say sometimes they use it as an excuse, even though your parents, they do have an effect on you being an adult. You also have an element of choice of, because like you said, your parents will tell you do this, do that one, do this, all the good things, all the positive things. It's down to you to decide. But obviously I do understand that the circumstances you find yourself in could also play a major role. In that, in terms of the community, the people you're around with as well. I'm around with a lot of people that drink, smoke, do all these things, but personally,
you don't.
I don't do it. Number one, that's part of my choice. And number two, I'm not a person that's really enticed by those things because I don't really think I need it. Someone could also relate it back to religiously as well. As a Muslim, we're discouraged to do those things too. That's why I was going back to culturally and religiously, those also play impact on you. For me personally, yes, your parents do have a big impact on you as an adult. But I think you as an individual too need to sit down with yourself, decide which part of your parents' parenting was good for you and which part you feel you're not going to follow. So that, and then you can make your own choice. Right now, I think a lot of people don't really make their choice. They just, yeah, my parents did
Take
it
on
this
their
way.
parents.
That way is why I'm going to do my own thing. But they forget that as we're growing, society is continuously changing. And there's a need to have that change as well. In conclusion to this, so what would you say? Would you say do your parents really have an effect on how you turn as an adult, or they don't?
Both consciously and subconsciously, most definitely they do. The conscious side at least can stop with you, and the subconscious side, if you're willing to do the work, if you're willing to seek the help, the effects of that can be mitigated also. So it's not all doom and gloom, but yes, they do have an effect, and that's something that everyone should look into, especially if you've had issues.
You know what? You've heard it. It's your boy MrCV and my boy L2. Remember, keep watching the channel, keep sharing, keep liking, keep subscribing, and don't forget to support your boy MrCV. Have a nice day, man.